Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtuki. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, unto Nar Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human beings, unto the Goddess of Learning, Mother Saraswati, and unto the author, Srila Vyasadeva. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart becomes almost completely destroyed, and devotional service becomes established within one's heart as an irrevocable fact. Good morning, devotees. Hare Krishna. I want to say something real quickly about a garland. I had just heard this from His Holiness, a lecture on by His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And apparently it was in the beginning of the class, somebody was getting ready to give him a garland, and they gave it a garland while he was singing Jaya Radha Madhava. So he made I'm only mentioning this because it's timely, and I just heard it, and I saw Abhinav waiting patiently there to offer a garland. And he was saying that garland is prasad. So when you offer it and you receive it, it should be done, with affection and respect. So apparently Maharaj was chanting. I couldn't see it was an audio tape, but he said, it was kind of like thrown on him while he was in the middle of doing something else. And he says, that's not the proper way to offer a garland. A garland should be done when you're not in the middle of doing something. So like when you're finished that activity, and then you place it either before or after, but not during that time. So I thought that's something that when I heard that, I said, this is kind of something that goes on every week. We always offer garlands, and he gave us just some indication of, the proper way, because it is prasadam to give a garland, and then also, because you also want to be able to receive it, with the proper respect. So thank you for waiting patiently, Abhinav, to offer the garland and, this wonderful prasadam of the Lord. And if anybody knew Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he said it with a lot of strength and conviction.
He said that Jaya Radha Madhava was Srila Prabhupada's favorite subject.
Yeah. You were there with him in Houston.
I
lived in Houston, yeah. So yeah. I said strength and conviction, but heavy is another good word. Okay, so we're continuing our study this morning of Canto number 3, chapter 18, the battle between Lord Bor and the demon Hiranyaksha. 3:18:4. Vamna sapatner abhavaya kimbrito. Yo maya hantya asuram parokshajit. From yoga maya balam alpa parusham. Samstapya mudha pramrije surich chukcha. From na sapner abhavaya kim prito. Yo maya hantya asuram prakoshajit. From yoga maya balam alpa parusham. Samstapya mudha pramrije surich chucha. From nasapatner abhavaya kimbrito. Yo maya yahantya asuram prakoshajit. From yoga maya balam alpa parusham. Samstapya mudha pramrije surich chucha. Please chant. Chamda sapatnir abhavaya kimbrito. Maya yahantya asuran prakoshajit. From yoga maya balamalpa parusham. Samstapya mudha pramije surich sucha.
Sapatner abhavaya kimbrito.
From nasapatner abhavaya kimbrito.
Ayaya hantyasuran parokshajit.
Yo maya yahantya asuran parokshajit.
Yoga maya balamalpa paurusham.
From yoga maya balamalpa parusham.
Samstapya mudha pramurje surechucha.
Samstapaya mudha pramije surich chucha. Tvam nasapatnir abhavaya kimbrito. Yo maya yahantya suran parokshajit. Tvam yoga maya balamalpa parusham. Samstapya mudha parimje surich chucha. From nasapatnir abhavaya kimbrito. Yo maya yahantya suran parokshajit. Tvam yoga maya balamalpa parusham. Samstapya mudha pramije surich chucha. Anyone else? Oh. Synonyms. Tvam. You. Na.
Ah,
Us.
this
Sapatne. By our enemies. Abhavaya. For killing. Kim. Is it that? Prita. Maintained. Ya. He who. Mayaya. By deception. Hanti. Kills. Asuran. The demons. Parokshajit. Who conquered by remaining invisible. Tvam. You. Yoga Maya Balam. Whose strength is bewildering power. Alpa Parusham. Whose power is meager. Samstapaya. After killing. Mudha. Fool. Pramrije. I shall wipe out. Surit Sucha. The grief of killing my kinsman. So this is Hiranyaksha, the great demon, brother of Hiranyakashipu, speaking to Lord Varahadev. You rascal, you have been nourished by our enemies to kill us, and you have killed some demons by remaining invisible. O fool, your power is only mystic. So today I shall enliven my kinsman by killing you. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The demon used the word abhavaya, which means for killing. Sridhar Swami comments that this killing means liberating, or other words, killing the process of continued birth and death. The Lord kills the process of birth and death and keeps himself invisible. The activities of the Lord's internal potency are inconceivable. But by a slight exhibition of this potency, the Lord, by his grace, can deliver one from nescience. Shuchaha means miseries. The miseries of material existence can be extinguished by the Lord by his internal potency, Yoga Maya. In the Upanishads, Svetsvatsvatar Upanishad 6.8, it is stated, Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shrutyate. The Lord is invisible to the eyes of the common man, but his energies act in various ways. When demons are in adversity, they think that God is hiding himself and is working by his mystic potency. They think that if they can find God, they can kill him just by seeing him. Hiranyaksha thought that way, and he challenged the Lord. You have done tremendous harm to our community, taking the part of the demigods, and you have killed our kinsmen in so many ways, always keeping yourself hidden. Now I shall see you face to face, and I am going to let you go, and I'm not going to let you go. I shall kill you and save my kinsmen from your mystic misdeeds. That was Hiranyaksha speaking. Not only are the demons always anxious to kill God with words and philosophy, but they think that if one is materially powerful, he can kill God with materially fatal weapons. Demons like Kamsa, Ravana, and Hiranyakashipu thought themselves powerful enough to kill even God. Demons cannot understand that God, by his multifarious potencies, can work so wonderfully that he can be present everywhere and still remain in his eternal abode of Goloka Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Agyanatimarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master has opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. The verse once again, you rascal, you have been nourished by our enemies to kill us, and you have killed some demons by remaining invisible. O fool, your power is only mystic, so today I shall enliven my kinsmen by killing you. What is unfolding before us and has been spoken about in the previous verses, in the previous chapter, we're witnessing a great lila or drama that is taking place within this universe. And we have the benefit of being able to view the drama through the Srimad Bhagavatam, but we're also getting the benefit of hearing about, seeing it from the perspective of the playwriters. And how they're actually constructing this drama from happening, how they're constructing and making this lila happen. So we're seeing it from these two different perspectives. There's Jai and Vijay in Vaikuntha. They're coming down now and playing the role as demons in order to fulfill the desire of the Lord to fight, and they wanted to participate in this. So they were great devotees. But yet they're now having to play this role of horrible demons that are doing so much demoniac work in this material world, so much so that the Lord is going to have to come and kill them himself. Now, from the outsider's perspective, you think, how could this be possible? But having the insights from the Srimad Bhagavatam and the commentaries from our Vaishnavacharyas, we're able to actually understand the mood behind this whole lila that is going on. So we have, starting off, and those that have been following along, Srila Prabhupada in the last two verses, he has quoted Sridhar Swami, and how the words that are being spoken by Hiranyaksha, they appear to be saying one thing, and they are saying one thing, but they have double meaning. They're simultaneously an insult, but in a deeper way, they're actually a glorification. So it takes this insider understanding of a pure devotee of the Lord to be able to understand this. From the audience's view, they see it as an insult. From the Lord's perspective, he sees it as also an insult, but he can also see it as a glorification. So here, Srila Prabhupada is also quoting Sridhar Swami. The demon used the word abhavaya, which means for killing. Sridhar Swami comments that this killing means liberating, or in other words, killing the process of continued birth and death. So as we read it in its direct way, Hiranyaksha is saying, you've been sent to kill us, and you've been killing us. You've been remaining invisible, and you're hiding out, and you're killing us demons. And, he's taking objection to this. And Sridhar Swami is saying this killing actually it actually means liberating. So this is another way of actually kind of glorifying the Lord, saying, you've come to liberate people. Even though you're coming to kill, you're actually coming to liberate them. So, and this liberation means ending the process of birth and death in this material world and returning back to our original home in the spiritual world. The demons that are being killed directly by the Lord, they actually get liberation from the process of birth and death. Now, there's different types of liberation that they receive. Sometimes it's sayuja, which means impersonal liberation. And this is the type of liberation we actually don't want. This sayuja liberation, one will remain, they don't actually go back into the spiritual world, they go to the Brahma Jyoti. And they go into a place of where there's no pain, no misery, but also the ananda that the soul searches for is also absent there. There's this sat feature, this eternal feature, but there's not this ananda feature that is part of the equation of the soul. So they eventually fall down back into the material world. But some get actual liberation back into the Vaikuntha planets, or back into the pastimes of the Lord. So the remaining invisible, one way that the Lord kills in his invisible form is through the process of death. Krishna tells Arjuna in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it says, time I am the destroyer of all the worlds. Through this process of death, actually Krishna is death personified. So the way that people view this process of death, depending on your consciousness, one can actually see Krishna and an invitation to actually go back to the spiritual world, or they can see it in the form of fear and actually cringe and be extremely fearful at that time. So in the form of death, the example is given of the mother cat, the mouse, and the kitten. So to the mouse, when the mother cat comes and bites on the back of the neck, that's fear, it's death. Things are over. I'm going to die. But that same jaw is coming down on the back of the kitten. It's actually motherly comfort. Mom is coming to save me, pick me up and take me away from harm. So as those that are not God conscious, materially absorbed in this world, and have no spiritual direction, they've not been taught the science of living as well as the science of dying, that the process of dying is the changing of bodies. It's not the actual elimination of our being. The soul cannot die. The soul cannot be cut. The soul cannot be harmed. The soul cannot be altered. They see it from a different light. But those that are absorbed only in this material world, they see things in terms of everything that I have is now over. It's a cutoff from everything that they've lived for. So these spiritual teachings are to enlighten us and teach us that there's a reality far beyond this material world, and that things such as death, as Hiranyaksha is, commenting on, that you're coming to kill us and take us, basically end our agenda here in this world. We want to get to the point where we can actually see it as part of the Lord's plan, and actually we are the kitten, and we can actually have the embrace of the mother cat, who is Krishna, taking us to safety. Another comment I wanted to make real quickly on Sridhar Swami. Sridhar Swami is known as, he's the preeminent commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And our Vaishnavacharyas, such as Srila Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Baladeva Vijayabhushan, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada have all kept him in such high esteem and, refer to him and quote him. He's from the 14th century. And one time in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, there was Vallabha, later known as Vallabha Acharya. He met Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri, and they were discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. And Vallabha Acharya came up with his own commentary, and he presented this to Lord Chaitanya, and he actually said, my commentary, I believe, surpasses that of Sridhar Swami. And to that, Lord Chaitanya, he became very heavy and chastised him. And basically saying you should never try to surpass your previous acharya. He, like I said, he chastised him and basically saying the mood of a Vaishnava is that of the servant and understanding one's role in the parampara. So you should never try to step over or outdo that of a previous teacher, and that anything that you may have accomplished is based on the grace, and teachings of our previous teachers. So Lord Chaitanya also, referred to and held Sridhar Swami in high regard. So this is the Sridhar Swami that Srila Prabhupada is also referring to. Also a comment here is that Srila Prabhupada used many of the Vaishnavacharya's commentaries while he was writing these purports. In a room conversation in 1973 in Stockholm, Sweden, Srila Prabhupada was speaking with a Sanskrit professor. Srila Prabhupada said, here is 8 commentaries by different acharyas. So I read all the commentaries and then give my own. In this way we are doing. Yes. Professor, where do you have these 8 commentaries? Are they found in this edition? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Vira Gavya Acharya, Srila Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Here are the original text. It is in Bengali. So it's also known that Srila Prabhupada would carry around these commentaries when he would travel, and he would refer to them when he would write his purports. And we're seeing here a direct Srila Prabhupada, quoting directly Sridhar Swami. This idea that's being brought up here of killing God. We don't see it as directly as we see in the examples of the demons performing their leelas with Krishna, of actually trying to kill, physically harm God. Because to the demons or to the atheist, they don't have access to the direct vision of God. They don't have access, so they can't directly challenge or kill God in person, as we're seeing here. Come and fight me, I'm here. Let's battle it out. Let the best person win. But ways in which we see the challenge to God, the denying of the existence of God, is we see this in the modern scientific approach to understanding creation. And we see for this reason, Srila Prabhupada, he took up this fight, and he took it right to these scientists. Some people question, Srila Prabhupada, he came, to spread Krishna consciousness, to bring bhakti into this world, Sankirtan movement, why didn't he just stick to the bhakti part of it? And, why did he kind of go after the scientists? Why did he challenge the scientists? And it was for this reason, they were propagating a consciousness that was more or less atheistic, denying the existence of God, and in this way, actually trying to kill God. This was their way of trying to basically kill God. So we see that Srila Prabhupada had many conversations. There's a book, Life Comes from Life, that's written in many room conversations that he had, and some of his purports and commentaries. He's written out very strongly against scientists. In the perspective of creation, this idea of the Big Bang Theory or variations of the Big Bang Theory, that basically life or this universe came from such disorder and all of a sudden found order without a person who has actually placed it in order. Srila Prabhupada, he challenged that. This idea that life is created from chemicals. Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Sharad Bihari ki jai. That life came from the combination of chemicals, and that consciousness is actually formed out of the development of chemical interaction with matter. Srila Prabhupada represented the Vedic understanding that actually consciousness is a symptom of the soul, and matter actually doesn't have consciousness. So this is the teachings of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. The consciousness pervades throughout the body, and matter is actually without consciousness. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. It is only put into motion when there's actually a spiritual spark. And then he also would challenge that the scientists who say there is no God, and you're saying this because you can't see God. If it can't be measured, it can't be quantified. If it can't be perceived with one's own senses, then you can't acknowledge it to be a reality. But you've never seen, through the combination of chemicals, life be formed. And he would say they would only give a post-dated check. Yes, but this will come. We're currently in the laboratory, and we will soon find out, we will soon demonstrate. Prabhupada said this is a post-dated check. So Srila Prabhupada would challenge this. He would also challenge the scientific approach that only through visual observation and being able to mentally come to a logical conclusion through rationale, that is the only way to establish truth and reality. Well, yes, we do have senses and we do perceive, and we do have mind and intellect in which we can rationalize, and we should use these things. But even using these instruments, we have to acknowledge that there are things beyond our perception, things that are inconceivable to us. And to draw conclusions based upon things that are beyond our observation and inconceivable to us. That is cheating. So Srila Prabhupada would say, there are answers to this, and he would present the Vedic the Vedic conclusion on that. As far as creation, instead of the Big Bang Theory and everything just kind of assembled through a series of chances, that there's actually a creator, a person. Supreme Personality of God, starting with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then delegating that out through various agencies of the demigods, starting with Lord Brahma, the secondary creator. So these are some ways in which God is challenged. God is trying to be killed in our modern times. And this philosophy has also been passed down into our schools, and then becomes the prominent way of thinking. In fact, the only way of thinking. But it's also, until we understood, these are theories that are put out. Very little, if nothing, in terms of creation, the source of life, has ever been proven. In fact, the theories change as more information becomes available. Ravinda Shri Prabhu used to talk about the scientist, and he was in this field. He was a scholar, and he would attend different conferences, and he would write papers on these topics. And he would basically say, the common line that they would say is, we used to think, but now we know. And then you would go back again 5 years later and it would change, and they say, well, we used to think, but now we know. So as time goes on, the microscopes, you can see smaller and smaller. The telescopes, you can see farther and farther, but it's empirical. It's going to continue to grow and evolve. But then we read Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna says, well, if you want to see me, if you want to see reality, here is the process for doing it. And Krishna says, if you want to see the universal form, I have to give you the eyes to see. In the 13th chapter, text 8 through 12, Krishna gives the items of knowledge that if one actually wants to see reality and clear one's vision of the obstructions of the material conditions of life, then one can follow this process. A big part of that is seeing it through the eyes of Scripture, as well as seeing through the eyes of a person who's properly understood and applied the Scripture. This is called sabya. So there's perception that we have, rational, the way we rationalize our brain, in certain circumstances. And then there's the ultimate reality that is given in the Scriptures. Now, another part of ways in which God can be challenged and tried to be killed is actually by fanatics, fundamentalists that misrepresent and do a disservice to the teachings of God. Instead of trying to elevate and purify one's existence, they're actually used to control, condemn, and do harm into this world. When the teachings become hijacked and being able to use for political measures, or for other demoniac, or for other cruel reasons. This is another way in which we see in modern world in which God is trying to be killed. And as receivers of the Srimad Bhagavatam, as servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we have the opportunity, and we also have a duty, a responsibility to be able to represent and present through our own personal lives, the way we live our lives, as well as being able to teach society and the people that we meet, the spiritual science. And this can be done through the practice of the Sankirtan movement. At the end here we say, not only are, Srila Prabhupada writes, not only are demons always anxious to kill God with words and philosophy, but they think if one is materially powerful, he can kill God with material fatal weapons. So, going back to death, this idea of trying to cheat death, outlive death, deny death, live beyond allowing the material body to be immortal, this desire, this quest to do this. If we think we're materially powerful enough, materially sophisticated enough, if we feel that we can just advance further in spiritual science, we can actually deny the ultimate laws of material nature that are under the control of Krishna. At the same time, I want to make note that Srila Prabhupada gave credit to the scientists. You know, it was just these assertions that they put forth that they couldn't prove, and were actually a challenge to spiritual reality, and led people into ignorance, which means further births and deaths in this material world that he challenged. With scientific advancements, the dictaphone, the microphone that Srila Prabhupada used on a daily basis in order to preach, he recognized that this is good. But when you start taking and making assertions, God does not exist, creation was done in this way, you know, there is no spiritual substance, life was created out of the formulation of matter, this Srila Prabhupada didn't tolerate. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada, he attacked this demoniac mentality of trying to kill God. Okay, I'll stop here. Let's see if there's any comments. Anybody wants to add? Questions? Hare Krishna.
TKG said that the first manuscript of the Bhagavad Gita was stolen from Srila Prabhupada and had to do it all over again. And what the cat has the quickest reflections of anything on the third. The Maltese said that the manuscript was stolen from Srila Prabhupada and ran it all over again.
Yeah, it's true. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Philosophers came across issues like nobody's personality actually brought what is necessary for the soul of human being the right way by making everyone closer to God, by giving them message reaching them.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So another modern day challenge that makes one feel the dependency on God is not there, is the development of artificial intelligence. So if you use the premise that our access to God is through word, through books, through scripture, and artificial intelligence, AI, can search, process, develop commentary, synthesize, opine, in one sense, better than any human being, faster than any human being, in a matter of seconds. You know, and then it can also be trained to think a certain way, feel a certain way. It can speak like a devotee. It's true. If you you can train artificial intelligence and develop it to continue to think and develop and progress in a certain way of thinking. So it becomes the expert. It becomes the authority. And not just on scripture, but in any element of life. This is kind of the modern day life comes from life, is understanding artificial intelligence and how it can actually be used in a positive way, but to the point where it actually denies one's dependency on God, it can actually become very dangerous. The actual experience, that can't be artificial. That actually has to be genuine. The development of and the culture of the soul, our genuine feeling, that cannot be artificial. So that's kind of the, Srila Prabhupada was talking at the time of Life Comes from Life. That was in the 60s and 70s. That's when that was the hot topic of the time. Theory of evolution started integrating into the textbooks, the science books, into schools. That was the main way people were thinking. And atheism was growing as a result of that. I remember I was in college. This was after I'd been practicing Krishna consciousness for a little bit. I took a class, an elective class called Historical Geology. And it went back and basically the theory of how the earth was created, how life was created on the earth. And it was laid out so well. I actually thought, this actually might be true. And I remember, and I was still chanting Hare Krishna, but my taste for chanting actually started to diminish because I thought maybe this is actually the way it came to be. And then I took a step back and I said, let me actually question this with intelligence. So I would question the professor. And then he would come and basically saying, well, we don't know, but this is what would kind of make sense. Like if we had to basically make something, if we had to rationalize something, this is how we would rationalize it. But you're right, this actually could just be, just completely wrong. And so then like from there, I was like, okay, well, like, how can you set your foundation in life on a premise that is admittedly probably wrong, but they have to produce something. You have to tell some aspect, they have to give some reasoning, and therefore it's always developing and changing. Anybody else? Anybody online? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Can you hear me, Drona? Sorry.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I was reflecting on when you were saying about Prabhupada challenging the scientists, and part of just bringing truth is exposing lies and dispelling darkness. And it seems that the more material advancement or so-called advancement is made, the deeper we get into ignorance. Although material progress seems like it's heading in a direction that's improving things, it's actually um, leading us into a more degraded state, and obviously leads us away from God and leads us away from Krishna. So like material advancement, even though we have so many materially improved things, even in the last 2 decades, um, the cost of it is our spiritual aspect. Hare Krishna.
Very nicely said, Dr. David. Thank you. That's a very important point, and I really, you said it really nicely. We have to be very careful on the progress and developments. Yukta Vairagya, we can utilize material objects, material advancements, scientific advancements in Krishna service. But the general trend in the creator of these things is actually to increase comforts, duration, and sense enjoyment in this life. So in that way, if people utilize these advancements and they're not trained in spiritual science, then they'll misuse them in the wrong way, and it'll actually lead to more ignorance and further entanglement in this world. So, thank you. Anything else? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki. I want to mention, everybody be careful. We're going to have a cleanup day today, starting at 10 o'clock. Tomorrow, it's supposed to snow. Supposed to get a big one. We laugh because sometimes they say that, and it doesn't happen. We get an inch or two. So as far as our program tomorrow night, we'll make an announcement. Probably tonight or early tomorrow morning. If we are going to get hit with a big one, we won't have the beast program tomorrow. But we'll put it out on WhatsApp as well as on our newsletter. Hare Krishna.